Hello there, my name is Tuppence. A little while back I used this mould to create a bunny ear pot, but I'm just using the pot today, not the ears, and I'm going to combine it with this flower mould. So this is a Christmas rose. I'm going to use just this tiny one. If I flip this over you can see what it looks like. And I want to make some daffodils out of this. Now daffodils usually I think have 6 petals, but it will look enough like a daffodil, and I'm going to put it on the pot. I'm going to make the pot out of Aqua cast, and I'm going to use some foam air dry clay to make the daffodils. In order to find out exactly how much Aqua cast I'm going to need, I've already measured my mould. I popped it on my scales. I made sure I was measuring it in grams, that they were zeroed, and then I filled it with water. That came out to 153 grams, but I'm going to round that up. And I'm going to take 160, I'll put that into the AquaCast calculator that is on the Elichem website, and it told me I needed 213 grams of powder and 75 grams of water. So I'm going to go ahead and mix it up according to those ratios. I always put my water in first and then add my powder, then I can mix it up. I just find it mixes easier, and I'm going to make sure to mix it so that there's no powder left. It's all incorporated. Now this is slightly thicker than I want, so I'm going to add a little bit more liquid. When mixed correctly, the AquaCast is a little bit more like a thick pancake batter, and I want more of a kind of ice cream soup. So it's going to be a little bit more runny. Right, when I'm happy with that, I'm going to tap this up and down on the table just to dislodge any bubbles and bring any powder to the surface that might be unmixed. But it's looking okay, so I'm going to get my pot. I'm going to split this mixture roughly in half because I want to add some colour to some of it. Okay, that's roughly equal. Now I'm going to be using some mica powder in this, and that's not something that you would normally put into an eco resin. It doesn't impart very much colour, you need an awful lot of it. But this is an iridescent powder and it has kind of a purpley pinky sheen to it. So I'm just going to add 1 scoop in there. And when I mix this round, you'll see what I mean. It's not going to change the colour an awful lot, but you'll see what happens at the end. You get some really magical effects. All right, that's mixed in, but to actually get my colour, I'm going to be using a specific colorant. So this is for gypsum or eco resins, and I think I got these from Temu. I will leave links to anything that I can find in the description box below. So I've got this blue. I think I need to make a hole in the top because I haven't used this one. So I'll just poke a hole in, and it will probably squirt everywhere because that's what they tend to do. Let me twist that. Come on, there we go. Alright, it's on my fingers, but it is water-based, I can wash it off. So I'm going to put a couple of squirts in there and mix that round. And this is what's going to give me my colour. It's going to work in combination with that powder. That's quite pretty. Right, I am happy with that. And this other one I'm just going to keep white. So now I'm just going to randomly pour these in, a little bit at a time, trying to get some kind of layered effect. Make sure I fill it all up. Hopefully I will have enough because I did the calculation. So I'm just going to keep layering the colours, and hopefully I will end up with pretty distinct layers in there. There will be a little bit of mixing between that chameleon powder that I put into the blue and the white, and that's hopefully going to give me some kind of pinky cast. I don't know, we'll see. Right, I'm going to scrape everything out of my pots because I really need to use everything that I've got to fill this up. It is going everywhere. Last bit on the white, and already it is starting to get a little bit thicker. Now I haven't squeezed along the bottom here to get rid of any bubbles because that's just going to mix the colours, and I do want them to stay pretty separate. Once I've got all of this in, I'm going to tap it very slightly and just lift it up. Drop it down on the table, although this mould is pretty squidgy, so I don't want to risk squeezing it too much. Right, hopefully that'll be okay. I'm going to clean up this mess and then I'll be back in about an hour and a half ready for demold. Okay, this is ready for demold. It's been a couple of hours, probably about 3 actually, so it's all cooled down. Just need to roll back the mould and then I can get this out. It's pretty flexible, so it just takes a couple of minutes. Oh, almost there. I've got a little bit of micro bubbles along the bottom here, but that's okay. A lot of that's going to be covered up. So just twist this off. I can see I've got nice layering. There we are. And it doesn't look like I've got bubbles, or not many anyway, just a few micro bubbles around the top. But my pot is a little bit rocky, so I need to take care of that. I'm going to sand the bottoms. Let me just grab some sandpaper. And I might as well do that now while this is still soft. The Aqua cast is going to continue to harden as it dries out over 24 hours. So this is the perfect time just to try and sand it until I get that straight. That's going to take a few minutes for me to do, so I'll carry on doing this off camera and then I'll be back once I'm all ready for the next step. But I'm really happy with the colour and the layering, and the pink will be making an appearance a little bit later. But now I want to make some daffodils. I'm using the Christmas flower mould. I'm going to dust it with a little bit of corn flour because that helps the clay to release. So I'll just brush that on the inside, and I don't want too much, so I'm going to tap the excess off. I'm going to use this foam air dry clay. You could use anything, air dry clay. You can even use polymer clay because you can bake the Aqua cast, but I'm happy using this stuff. It is super cheap. You get a lot of it in a tub. It's really easy to use. So I'm just going to squish that into the mould with my fingers. Try and get the back as flat as possible and get rid of any excess. I'm also going to use this brush to roll that and try and make the back flat. And the neater that you can get it whilst it's in the mould, the better it is. So just keep smoothing it. There we go, that's not looking too bad. And now I just need to bend my mould. It is again really flexible. In fact, that popped out really easily. And there is my flower. So that's going to be the base. I'm going to add a little bit of corn flour onto the end of my makeup brush. And then I've got a tiny blob of clay, and I'm just going to form a cup around the end of the makeup brush. This is going to be the trumpet of the daffodil. And now I need to stick that. So I've got a little blob of glue on the table from this Bookbinding Glue. You can use a PVA glue as well. I'm going to try and transfer that onto the middle of the flower. So I'm just going to twist this a little bit. It is stuck just a little bit, but I can gently prise that out. There you go. And now I have a trumpet, and I think that looks like a daffodil. So I just need to flute the edges of the trumpet. I'm going to take a micro brush stick, just make some marks on it. Try and make it look a little bit frilly. All right. Not too bad. And I can also shape the petals as well. Now I need to make more of these, and I'm also going to have to colour this now. Well, I don't have to colour it, but I think it'll be easier to colour it now because I want to put this onto the pot before it dries. So to colour it, I'm going to use a little bit of alcohol ink. This is called Lemonade, and obviously perfect colour for daffodils. So I'm just going to paint that on with a brush. And because it is alcohol, it doesn't make the clay too sticky. It dries really quickly and it absorbs very well. So I'm just going to paint that on and then leave it to dry. And of course I can clean it up off my mat with a little bit of isopropyl alcohol. Right, there's my daffodil. Now I just got to make a whole bunch more. I made a few more and let the alcohol ink dry, and now I'm ready to add them to the pot. I'm using the same bookbinding glue to attach them. And because the clay is still nice and soft, it hasn't cured or dried yet, I can shape them to the pot wherever I want to put them. So I'm going to pop this underneath the rim and curve that round. And I want a cluster that sort of diagonally falls down across the side of the pot. So I'll pop that one there. Make sure that all the petals are sticking to the curve of the pot. Then I can add another one off down to the side. I'm going to let that overlap a little bit. Again, I want to shape those petals around that curve. Hold it in place for a couple of seconds until that glue grabs. I think I'm going to add one down to the other side. I'm going to make sure that I put plenty of glue on, and then I can add the flower on top. This one's going to overlap a little bit as well. Press those petals so that they follow the curve. Got a little bit of excess glue. I'm just going to clean that up with my finger, otherwise it will leave a gloss, although I am going to varnish the pot as well. Now I've got a little hole on the frill here at the top, so I might as well put one of the daffodils over that and disguise it. So I'm just going to curve that along the top and make it look like it's falling over the edge. So most of it will be supported, and I'll just tuck the petals underneath as well. Put a bit of glue under there. Try and make it stick. There we go. Right, once these are dry, they will harden sufficiently, but they're kind of like foam, so they will still be a bit bendy, which is why I'm going to be varnishing them. So I'll just try and arrange that so I don't want anything sticking out too far. I'm going to leave that gap under there. I'll deal with that afterwards. Alright, I think I'm happy with that so far. The pot needs to dry, as do the flowers. They're going to take about 24 hours and then I can varnish it. But I think that looks really pretty. So hopefully they'll stay like this. Alright, back when I can varnish it. Everything is dry now and it's ready for its first coat of varnish, which is going to be this dilute varnish. I mixed 3 parts varnish with 1 part water, and this is going to absorb into the piece and help to create a barrier, and then afterwards I can use this full strength varnish. So I'm going to do a couple of coats. I'm using a soft bristled brush to get into all of the areas. It's also going to be soft enough that it won't break the flowers, and I can get into all of the tight spaces in between them. Now as I'm painting this on, you can see the colours start to come out on the pot. And can you see the pink beginning to show through? This is where that blue has mixed slightly, or at least the pink cast of the blue powder, the Stargazer powder, has mixed with that Aqua cast, and you get such lovely colours. I'm trying to be careful and make sure I get a nice thin coat, especially over the flowers. I don't want anything pooling there. And all the way across the pot. This first coat is going to take about 15 minutes to dry, and then I'm going to give it a second coat. So I've sped this up, but once this is dry, I'll go ahead, give it another coat off camera, and then I'll be back. Okay, that coat of varnish is now dry. It's only had the 1 coat. I thought I was going to be finished with this pot, but I want to add something more to it. I think it needs something else. I'm loving that pinky purple, so I want to add a little bit more colour. I'm going to use some more of the foam clay, and I've got another purple mica. This is called Passion by Luminarte. And I think I mentioned that the other one was called Stargazer. So I'm just going to mix this mica powder into the clay. I probably should have put gloves on because this stuff stains like mad. I will have purple fingers for a little while. So let me just put this away, and yes, look, it says on the bottom, Passion. These are really powerful pigments, very strong, so I'm just going to knead that through the clay, and you can see just that little bit that I picked up on the lid is really colouring it. It's very pink though, not quite the colour I was going for. I'm just going to keep stretching this until it's all one colour and doesn't look very streaky. Well, that's all mixed through, but it's too pink, so I'm going to add some of this. This is Snapdragon, also by Luminarte, and I think this is going to give me the purple that I want. So again, really strong colour. I'm just going to pick up some from the lid, just roll that around, and then put the lid on. My fingers are already grubby enough, so I'm not even going to bother with gloves. And now I just need to repeat the process and mix this colour through as well. I'm going to use this flower mould that I've had for a long time, and I want to create little flowers using that border at the top there. So I'm just going to roll a small ball and drop that in and try and use it to create each individual flower. So I'll leave a space in between. I can't get my fingers in there properly, so I'm going to use the end of my brush and just poke that down, try and fill this, make it flat. Do the same for that one. Okay, try and get it as flat as I can. I think this is a Mod Podge mould. I've had it for a long time and it's meant for hot glue, I believe. But anyway, I'll try and pop this out now. There we go. That's a cute little flower. I think it looks a little bit like a forget-me-not. It's given me the basic shape, so I'm going to fiddle about with it and modify it a little bit. I'm going to use the ball on the end of my silicone tool, and I'm going to cup the petals. So I'm just going to press gently into the petals and turn them from a puffy petal, which is what they are now, into a slight cup. I've made quite a few of them. I'm trying not to squish them while I'm holding it, but I can shape the petal and pull it out a little bit and just create some cups. And I think that looks a lot more like a forget-me-not. There we go, and then I can fold the cup up a little bit. So I'm going to do the same to all of these, and then I'll be able to stick them onto my pot. I'm happy with that. I think that looks a lot better, but I think I need maybe some green leaves as well. So I'm going to go ahead and make some green leaves for it. I found another mould that had some leaves on it, and this one was a nice small leaf shape. So again, I'm using the foam clay, only this time I haven't coloured the clay first. I'm going to add the leaves onto the pot. I'll let everything completely dry and then I'll add colour afterwards. These leaves aren't the right shape for daffodils, so if I didn't have these purple flowers, I wouldn't be able to use them. And they're the perfect size for just filling in any gaps and making the cluster look a little bit more full, which is something I really quite like. I've just got a couple more to add. I'm going to stick one down here at the bottom and then the other one at the top, extending the diagonal. Alright, I think that looks really nice, especially once I get the colour on them, and I'll do that as soon as they've had a chance to dry. So I'm going to leave them overnight. The foam clay is all dried now and I can add some colour onto the leaves. I'm using an alcohol ink pen. The alcohol ink dries almost immediately, which means that it doesn't re-wet the clay and make it soggy again. And because this pen has a brush tip, I can get around all of the edges and into all of the tight areas where I have tucked the leaves under the other flowers. Once I've coloured all of the leaves in, I'm going to use a white acrylic paint pen and I'm going to draw some lines in the centre of the flowers, radiating into the petals. And once that's dry, I will come back in with a yellow acrylic paint pen and put a dot into the middle, and that will be the paint finished. I need to leave that to dry and then I can varnish. This time I'm going to be using the full strength varnish. It's not diluted. I'm applying it with that same soft brush, making sure that I get it into all of the spaces between the leaves and the flowers. The leaves themselves and the purple flowers, they haven't got any varnish on at all, so I'm making sure that I am coating them really well. This is going to give them added strength and it will make them look like ceramic. Nobody's ever going to know that that is foam clay and not ceramic. So I will spread this out. I will give it a couple of coats. You won't need to see me do that. It is just me brushing the varnish on. I'm only doing the outside of the pot and the top. I'm not going to do the inside. I'm not really sure what I want to do with that just yet. But if I'm going to use it for something like a candle wax or something, then it would need to be a specific varnish that I put in there. Once this is all coated and dry, I will get some photos. I'm really glad that I added those purple flowers and the leaves. I really think it needed that pop of colour. I absolutely love this. I hope that you do too. If you do, please give me a thumbs up, comment, share, subscribe if you haven't. It will be free to you. It will really help my channel and you'll be able to come back and see what I'm going to make next time. Stay tuned for the photos and thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye.